What's up, guys? We are back with another NECA Toys TMNT review, taking a look at a new movie figure that is a very important version of one of the most important Turtle characters. We've got the Secret of the Ooze version of Shredder now. So we've had our movie Shredder for years. We've had three Super Shredders already. We're getting our Secret of the Ooze Turtles soon. And we finally have our Shredder to go along with him. And he is a very, very different type of character, different figure here than that original movie Shredder. A lot of differences between the two, so it makes perfect sense to tackle him in this line as well. Now, this is a single pack release. You're going to find him at Walmart, when he hits retail, and he comes in an ultimate style box. So you've got, a shot of Shredder on the front there. You've got some shots of him on the spine. You've got product shots on the back showing how he moves, some of the stuff he comes with. But of course, it's an ultimate box. It's got the flap, so you can pop that open. You've got a really big shot of him here on the inside, and then of course the figure is there in the big window. So yeah, let's do it. Let's pull him out and take a look. And here we go, out of the package. Our Secret of the Ooze Shredder from NECA Toys. A very, very different look for Shredder than we got in the first movie. Obviously the first movie was a big hit and the cartoon was in full effect, so they just had to, right? They had to make him look more like the cartoon. So he gets, toonified almost. He gets the purple outfit. He gets a lot more shreddery style of armor, especially that helmet. So there's a lot more little things that are changed about this guy. He's still a very familiar figure compared to that first toy. It's not entire reuse though, which I am a little bit surprised about. There's new stuff obviously to account for the things that are entirely different, but some stuff is actually new despite the fact that it looks very similar. So let's see what he can do, see how he moves around. You're probably not going to be too surprised by what he can do. If you have that first movie Shredder, you basically know what's going on here anyway. So you've got a head that can look up slightly. He does have, he's got a big old helmet on, so it's going to prohibit that a little bit. He can look down pretty nicely, though. Tilt side to side. You've got your rotation. He's only going to go so far, though, because he's going to start to hit the shoulder pads, but he can look off to the side just fine. No real issues. I'm not seeing any problem with that limitation. Arms out at the shoulders. They, of course, rotate, but you're going to have to watch going up because the shoulders flare out on his tunic here, so it is a little tight up there, but he can still get the clearance. You've got double-jointed elbows, and they're those sort of, very NECA style, like little hot dog things that are kind of in there. So they look better on clothed figures than they do on people with, just skin arms, basically. But they do still kind of look weird. They do get pretty good range, though. You've got hinges. You've got rotation at the wrist, normal stuff there. We've got a single piece for the torso. Not a whole lot of movement here either. He basically just swivels. Like I'm not even going to say he bobbles. He really doesn't do much of anything without probably breaking whatever is at the waist. Legs go out. These are the old style of hips too, which is exactly what the first movie Shredder had. So I'm not too worried about these. They're pretty robust. You've got out. Kick out forward, kick backwards. You've got your thigh twist up there. Double jointed knees. So this is that system where it's like a pinless at the top, where it's inserted into the bottom of the thigh, and then you've got a pinned knee at the top of the calf. He goes back pretty far though. And then we've got rocker and hinge down at those ankles. Pretty good range despite the there's shin guard down here. He does have really no problem moving that rocker on the ankle. So pretty decent articulation. There's nothing too crazy about this guy. Like I said, if you've got that first movie Shredder, you basically know what to expect here. And let's be honest, Shredder doesn't do a single thing in the Secret of the Ooze. He literally does nothing, like the entire movie. He just sort of stands around and yells at people. So he's going to do that just fine, whether he's articulated or not. Now I'll go ahead and just speak for everyone when I say that this figure is not about posability, about articulation. It's about the looks. Because this Shredder, he doesn't do anything. He doesn't do anything in the movie. He literally does nothing but just stand around except for like one scene when he grabs somebody in the club scene. He just does nothing. So it's all about the looks and how they translated him from movie one into this with cartoon influences, because of course, he's got a crazier helmet design and he's got the purple jumpsuit. That's the big thing. It's the purple. So he is overwhelmingly the same figure from the first movie Shredder, but at the same time not. So he's got the same legs, he's got the same arms, the gauntlets are the same, he's got the same belt, he's got the same crotch, he's got, I believe the shoulder pads are the same also, and you know, that's all great. This all has all of that texture, a little bit metallic to it, so it kind of catches the light. It's really shimmery, it looks really good. Tons of detail on these gauntlets, the blades, the rivets, all of that chainmail, tons of paint, a lot of wash in it just to bring it out and make it look a little bit more realistic. So that's all great. You know, it's everything that you would expect to get from this particular line. Is just a ton of detail in this kind of gritty way, and it does work really nicely here. Where he is specifically different, and I'm honestly not sure why, is the torso. And it's not a negative thing, it's just he's different. So they gave him a different torso. And it's a very similar torso to the first figure, but it's just not the same. We'll do a comparison here in a bit to show you what's different about them. It's pretty minimal. They're very similar in shape, but the wrinkles are sculpted differently on it. So it's not the same thing at all. It's just different enough to be different, I suppose. So you got a new piece there, but it looks good. You know, the shoulder pads sit really nicely on it. We've got, obviously, this crazy helmet. So this thing is, you know, like, obviously the foot ran out of money, so they had to cobble this new helmet together from whatever junk was in the junkyard. So you've got all of these sort of like plates of metal, all of the gold here, which is all dirty and nasty and patinaed. You've got the remnants of the first helmet up here with this sort of chain mail going on up top. And then you've got the spines and the razor saw blades up there, which is definitely like the hallmark of this helmet, is how saw-like it is when it comes to its design. It's just a very, very removed from that first figure. The first one is very understated and very, I mean, it's a gaudy helmet, but it's not nearly as ostentatious as this one. This thing is, it's very 90s, so it definitely works, and it is different, and NECA did a great job with the sculpt on it. I mean, it's tremendous. It's everything you would expect it to be when it comes to sculpt here, so I'm really happy with that. We do have a removable faceplate, so you can pop this off. You know, and of course, the actors between movies 1 and 2 were different, so this is not the same person. So you get a new portrait in there, and this looks absolutely amazing. Not only is the likeness absolutely spot on, but all of that scarring really adds another layer to this figure, not only in just detail, but with how much paint is on the face too. So, you know, NECA does a pretty good job of painting faces to begin with. This adds even more onto that. So I think it looks pretty tremendous. There are little nubs. You might be able to pick them up inside there. That's how the faceplate latches on. So you can pop this back on, and it goes on pretty easy. You just got to kind of cinch it in there correctly, and it'll go on, and then you can pop your mask back on, and it sits on him pretty well. I say that, and of course, you know, now it's giving me trouble. There we go. So it sits on him pretty nicely. No real issues. It's very straight. You know, you can still see the face through that grating in there, so it does look really good. But I'm very happy overall with the presentation on this guy, with just how close to movie accurate he is. I mean, he very much looks like he jumped right out of the screen. The helmet is, of course, one of the big things about him, because it is one of the two huge differences between the figures. So color on the bodysuit, and then, of course, the helmet. However, he does have another thing that is very different, too, in both form and function. So the first movie, Shredder, has a very specific kind of like tiger stripe cape. This one is whatever this is. I don't know. It's like almost floral in some ways. But it is a different cape. It is not wired for the sake of posability. There's a wire in here, and we'll talk about how that works here in a second. But it is a very different cape. And NECA does a great job with these. Like, they've always pulled out the stops when it comes to Shredder capes. Super Shredders, first movie Shredder, they look great. The actual patterning and the design work, however they've gotten, you know, source material to figure out what this looks like, they do a great job in recreating it at figure scale. So I'm really happy with this. I do wish there was a wire in there just to make it a little bit more posable. Now, this one is specifically meant to come off. It's on the box that, you know, it's removed in sometimes. And Shredder, in the movie, he's, you know, changing in and out of this thing all the time. One scene he'll be wearing it, the next, which seems like the exact same scene, it will be gone. And the way that's achieved, because it doesn't have any noticeable thing attaching to it. There's nothing around his neck. Like the first figure, it has a clasp around his neck. There's none of that here. What he actually has, you might be able to see it poking out, there is a wire that goes underneath the shoulder pads. So this is the wire that I was talking about. So it does have a wire, it's just not for posability. So you've got a wire there, and I'm kind of concerned that I'm not going to get it back on. So, you know, I guess just be careful with it. It seems to be pretty easy, but knowing me, I'll mess it up or something. You can also remove this, so also be careful with that. It can come out if you pull on it too far. But this is a pretty cool idea in terms of making that cinch on him without actually being like overly obvious. So I guess, you know, at that point we would just sort of, you know, we'll do it. It goes back on underneath the shoulder pads. And then of course, you know, you can do a little bit more to make sure to make it look a little bit cleaner, you know, kind of push that guy down in there a little bit. But it hangs on him pretty nicely. I'm happy with the size, the overall look, the patterning, everything. I mean, it's great. The only way it could have been better is if it had a wire in there just to make it a little more imposable. But for what it is, it's pretty solid, just like the rest of the figure. And then, of course, we have to do a comparison between our two shredders. So, you know, we've got our new shredder, Secret of the Ooze, here on the left, first movie shredder here on the right. And, I mean, there is stuff to compare, but there's not exactly stuff to compare because they're similar, but they're different. They share a lot of parts, but there are a lot of things that are very different. The cape is different from a functional standpoint. It doesn't go on the same way. It doesn't have the same wire posability. Patterning is entirely different. Colors on the body are different. The sculpt on the torso is different, despite the fact that, again, you know, they look very similar. Shape of the tunic, everything is really, really similar, but they went ahead and gave him a different one. You can see the actual wrinkles on it. They're just a little more flat on the Secret of the Ooze, and on the original movie they sort of taper in towards the pecs on the abs. So he does have a little bit of a difference there. It's not much, but it's different. Our movie 1 shredder has the blades on the hands. Secret of the Ooze does not have that. And then you've got just the same legs, same arms, and then the same gauntlets and shin guards down there. So very, very, and then of course, you know, head sculpts, helmets, of course, obviously different. So a lot that is similar, you know, they're very much similar in approach. But then when you look at all the details, they are very, very, very different, kind of going for two different kinds of aesthetics. Now, as far as accessories goes, Shredder has a pretty solid spread. There's a couple things here that are very, very Secret of the Ooze specific, which I'm very happy to see. And there's a couple things here that I guess are maybe like generic Shredder accessories that I don't know if they are meant for this version. I'm pretty sure they're not, but we'll talk about that in a sec. So we get some hands to start with. So we have fists on him in the box. We get slightly gripping, but mostly open style posy kind of hands. And then we get full on gripping hands. We get the dandelion. This is one of those very specific things. Of course, this is a hallmark thing that happens in Secret of the Ooze. So you've got, you know, your proof of mutagen out there in the world, and then you can take it to Shredder and show him that that there is more mutagen out there. It looks pretty good. Sculpt is good. Tons of paint on it. We get a canister of ooze. It says TGRI. I believe we have a couple of these by now. And then we get, probably my favorite accessory in this, honestly, is the vial of ooze. So like the backup vial. So at the end of the movie, you know, spoiler alert, when Kino kicks the canister out of his hand, he does have a backup vial of ooze. So he can, of course, ultimately become Super Shredder. Now, he does have a couple other things that they work for Shredder. Like, it's definitely something he would have. But I'm 99% sure that these do not appear in the movie. So he comes with this sword. It's got a sheath. It's got this rope on it. I don't know what this is from. I don't believe this is in the movie. He doesn't fight anybody in the movie. So, you know, he doesn't use a sword. He has the same kind of elastic belt that the first movie Shredder does. So you can put it in there and it will sort of cinch it to his waist. I'm not a fan of that because it just looks kind of weird. And I think it's not the best. It's not the ideal situation to cinch something to a waist, but it does work. So you've got this. And then we get this huge like Chinese halberd kind of thing, which is humongous, but I don't know what they're going for with this. Like, it's not the spear that he uses in the first movie, and unless I'm just misremembering, this does not appear in the movie either. Again, he doesn't fight anybody, so he doesn't do anything. The closest he comes is when he holds that chick's neck and it puts his fist to her throat. Really, he doesn't do anything. He never fights anyone. He never gets involved in any fights. So, except for Super Shredder, and even that's not really a fight. So, I'm not sure what this is for. I mean, it's a obviously cool martial arts accessory. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but it's there. It kind of beefs up the package a little bit, and you've got a little bit of a different way to round out your shredder. If you want to give him a sword, you can give him a sword. If you want to give him the halberd thing, you can give him that. It's certainly not out of the realm of possibility for this guy. I just don't know what they're intending in this movie unless I have completely blanked something out. So yeah, overall, really happy with this figure. Like, that's about it. Really happy with him. He does have a little bit of limitations when it comes to articulation, but he's not really any more or less articulated than the first figure, so I knew exactly what I was going to get going into this one. And let's be honest, he pretty much just stands there looking menacing, because that's what Shredder does. Again, doesn't do anything in the movie, he just looks cool, and that's going to work fine for my shelf, because he does absolutely look cool. I think the sculpt on him is tremendous. Tons of little details, lots of paint on him. The cape is fantastic. You know, I'm still not sure if I'm going to be taking it off and on because I'm really worried I'm not going to get it back on correctly. I managed to do it, but I'm worried I'm going to screw it up at some point. So you've got the really cool cape with the awesome patterning, the wild, crazy helmet, and then you've got a bunch of very specific, or not specific, I guess, accessories to kind of deck out your shredder. So definitely a cool one to add to the collection. So that's going to do it for this look at the NECA Toys Secret of the Ooze Shredder. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.